Rome was calm that night, too calm for what was about to unfold. Yaman had just landed from Istanbul after a week of silence that confused even his closest fans. There had been no posts, no paparazzi shots, not even one public appearance. He looked tense, tired, but determined. What no one knew was that he wasn't in Italy for a project, nor an interview. He was there for something far more personal, and far more dangerous. A car was waiting for him outside Fiumicino Airport. No driver, no security team, just one trusted friend. They didn't speak much during the drive, only exchanged short glances that said more than words ever could. "Are you sure you want to do this?" his friend asked quietly. "It's time," Ken answered. The car drove for almost 2 hours, leaving the glowing streets of Rome behind and entering the quiet suburbs where cameras rarely reached. Their destination, a small, discreet villa owned by Demet Özdemir's family. Yes, that Demet. The woman whose name still haunted every headline next to his, the woman he once loved and lost under the relentless pressure of fame. When he stepped out of the car, his heartbeat quickened. It had been years since he last saw them. Demet's mother opened the door first, her expression frozen between surprise and disbelief. She had not expected him, not tonight, not ever again. "Can," she whispered. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to talk," he said softly. "Not about the past, about now." They invited him in. The living room hadn't changed much. Family photos, familiar scents, memories that refused to fade. Ken sat down, his hands trembling slightly. He wasn't there to reopen old wounds, he was there because he needed closure, or maybe forgiveness. "I didn't come to hurt anyone," he said quietly. "I just needed to explain what really happened, before things go too far." Demet's brother joined in, arms crossed, protective but curious. The tension was thick. Nobody interrupted as Ken spoke, about the misunderstandings, the miscommunication, the rumors that destroyed everything years ago. "I never wanted to leave her," he admitted. "But back then, the world wasn't kind to us. Every word we said was twisted into something ugly. I thought staying away was the only way to protect her." There was silence. And then, Demet's mother sighed, her voice trembling. "You think love ever needed protecting? You both let fear do what love should have done." Ken lowered his head. It was a wound that still bled, one he had carried for years. Meanwhile, miles away in Milan, Sara Bluma was staring at her phone. She had been calling him since morning, no answer. His team didn't know where he was. His driver hadn't picked him up. She felt that familiar sting of anxiety she'd tried to bury for weeks. "He promised no more secrets," she murmured to herself, gripping her phone. Then a message popped up from an anonymous account. A blurry photo of Ken outside the Özdemir villa. Her world froze. Sara had always trusted him, but this? A secret trip to meet his ex's family, without a word? Within seconds, the doubts she had buried came rushing back. Is he trying to fix something with them? Does Demet still mean something? The internet didn't know yet, but the night was just beginning. Because once the secret meeting got out, and it would, nothing in Ken's life would ever be the same again. By the next morning, the silence was gone. It started with a single tweet, an anonymous user posting a grainy photo of Yaman standing outside a small villa in Istanbul, timestamped just 12 hours earlier. The caption read, "He said he moved on, but look who he's visiting." That was all it took. Within an hour, the post had gone viral. By noon, hashtags like hashtag Yaman Demet family meeting and hashtag Sara Ultimatum were trending across Italy and Turkey. Fans were in shock. Journalists went into overdrive. Sara Bluma, who had woken up to dozens of messages from her team, didn't need confirmation, the photo said everything. Ken, in a black jacket, standing at the door of Demet's family home. The same expression she knew too well, distant, serious, emotional. She called him again. No answer. Then again. Still nothing. Her voice trembled as she left a message. Can, if you don't want to explain, then I'll assume the photo says enough. She hung up, her heart pounding. For the first time, she felt something she never thought she would: betrayal. Meanwhile in Rome, Andrea, Can's longtime manager, was pacing his office, phone pressed to his ear. Can, you need to tell me what's going on. The media is tearing you apart. They're saying you're back with Demet. This is bad, really bad. On the other end of the line, Can's voice was calm but heavy. Andrea, it's not what they think. I went there to talk, nothing more. Then why didn't you tell anyone? Andrea shouted. Why hide it? Because some things can't be explained before they're understood, Can said softly. Andrea sighed. You don't understand, this could destroy everything, the brand deals, the film negotiations, your image, but Can wasn't listening. For once, the world outside didn't matter. He had done what he felt was right, and now he had to deal with the storm. By the afternoon, every major outlet was reporting the same headline. Can Yaman's secret visit to Demet Özdemir's family, reunion or goodbye? Fans split into two camps. Some defended him, saying he was finally finding peace with his past. Others accused him of betraying Sara, calling her the victim in this silent love triangle. Sara didn't speak publicly, but her actions said everything. That night, she unfollowed Can on Instagram. Within minutes, screenshots of it spread like wildfire. The gossip machine went insane. YouTubers made breakdown videos. Italian talk shows debated the real reason behind the visit. Turkish tabloids printed stories claiming Demet's family had welcomed Can warmly. Can tried to call Sara again, but she didn't pick up. When he arrived at her apartment, her assistant stopped him at the door. She's not ready to see you, the assistant said softly. He waited outside for almost an hour before leaving a single note under her door. You can believe what they say, or you can believe what you know about me. But for the first time, even Sara didn't know what to believe anymore. Later that night, she broke her silence with a cryptic Instagram story, a photo of a broken mirror, captioned, "Some reflections are too painful to look at." The world went wild again. Every outlet interpreted it differently. Sara ends it? The ultimatum begins? Can's silence, guilt or heartbreak? And while everyone else was busy guessing, one thing became clear to Can himself: he had lost control of the story. The truth no longer mattered, perception did. He knew he had to make a choice soon. Either protect Sara, or explain himself and risk reopening every wound he had spent years trying to close. 2 days had passed since the photo went viral. 2 days of endless headlines, sleepless nights, and millions of comments dissecting every moment of their private lives. For Can, it felt like déjà vu, history repeating itself in the cruelest way. But this time, it wasn't the media that scared him. It was Sara's silence. He had tried everything, texts, calls, even showing up at her place again. Nothing. Until, on the third evening, he received a message. Just one line: "Meet me at the place where we first met." That message hit him harder than any headline. Because that place, a quiet lakeside cafe near Como, was where everything between them had started. He arrived early, sitting by the window where they once shared their first coffee, the same one she'd spilled nervously that day, laughing as he helped her clean up. He waited. Minutes turned into an hour. Then finally, she appeared. Sara walked in wearing a long beige coat, her hair tied back, eyes hidden behind dark glasses. But her posture told everything: she was hurt, angry, and determined. She sat down across from him, took a deep breath, and removed her glasses. Her eyes were red. "Do you know what it's like," she said quietly, "to wake up and see your boyfriend in front of his ex's family on every screen in the country?" Can tried to speak, but she stopped him. "Don't. I don't want excuses. I just want to know one thing: why?" He leaned forward. "Sara, it wasn't what it looked like. I went there because I needed to close a chapter, not reopen it." Sara gave a bitter laugh. "You needed closure? Or permission?" Because when someone truly moves on, they don't go back to where they lost themselves. Her words cut deep. For a moment, the only sound was the rain tapping softly against the window. He finally said, "You have every right to be angry. But I couldn't carry that silence anymore. I needed to make peace with that part of my life, for us." Sara looked at him, her expression unreadable. "For us," she repeated. "You made a decision that affected both of us, but you did it alone. You say it was for us, but it feels like you're still living for someone else's ghost." He froze. The words hit where it hurt the most. Because deep down, he knew, no matter how far he'd come, part of his heart still lived in the shadows of his past. Sara's voice softened, but her eyes stayed cold. "I love you, Can. But I can't love someone who keeps his heart in two places. So here's my ultimatum, either you leave that part of your life behind completely, or you leave me." He looked at her. The woman who had given him peace after years of chaos, and realized how close he was to losing her. "Sara, you mean everything to me." "Then prove it," she whispered. They sat there in silence, both knowing this wasn't just a fight, it was a breaking point. That night, Sara left first. Ken stayed behind, staring at the rain-soaked window, replaying every word she'd said. He wasn't angry, he was empty. As he finally stepped outside, the cold wind hit his face. Reporters had already found the cafe, cameras flashing from the distance. They shouted questions. "Can? Is it over with Sara? What happened at Demet's house? Are you going back to her?" He didn't answer. He just walked past them, into the dark street, whispering to himself, love was never supposed to be a headline. That night, for the first time in years, Yaman disappeared. No one knew where he went, not even Andrea. His phone was off, his team had no idea. All they knew was that the man who once lived under every spotlight had chosen the shadows instead. And for Sara, the silence became her answer. For the next 5 days, Yaman vanished. No one knew where he was, not his team, not the media, not even Sara. The world that once followed his every step suddenly found itself chasing ghosts. Italian talk shows filled their airtime with theories. Turkish tabloids printed dramatic headlines like "Yaman disappears after Sara's ultimatum." Fans flooded social media with questions. Where is Can? Did he and Sara break up? Is he back in Istanbul? Andrea, his manager, was losing his mind. He's not answering my calls. He's not in his apartment, his car is gone, it's like he disappeared into thin air, he told a journalist off camera. But behind all that chaos, there was truth. Ken had escaped. He had driven north, alone, to a quiet villa by Lake Garda that he used to visit when he needed to think. He needed silence. Real silence, for the first time in months. He spent his days walking along the shore, phone turned off, trying to make sense of everything. He replayed Sara's words, either you leave that part of your life behind completely, or you leave me. They echoed in his mind like a heartbeat that wouldn't stop. At night, he looked through old letters and notes, things he had written during the time he was with Demet. Not because he missed her, but because he wanted to understand why that part of his life still hurt. You never really heal from a love you buried alive, he whispered to himself. He wasn't running from Sara, he was running from the version of himself that never stopped looking back. On the 4th day, a photo appeared online. Someone had spotted him walking near the lake at sunset, looking thin, tired, and lost in thought. Within hours, #WhereIsCan trended worldwide. Fans begged for answers. But then came the twist nobody expected. That same evening, Demet Özdemir appeared at a charity gala in Istanbul. When a reporter asked about the viral stories of Can visiting her family, she paused, smiled faintly, and said, "People forget that we once shared real memories, not scandals. Sometimes closure is not betrayal, it's healing." Her words hit the internet like lightning. Suddenly, the narrative changed. Maybe Can hadn't gone there to rekindle anything. Maybe he went there to finally close the door, for good. Sara saw the clip too. Sitting alone in her apartment, she watched it over and over. For the first time, she saw honesty in Demet's eyes, not rivalry. She realized Ken hadn't lied. He had just been trying to end something he couldn't explain. The next morning, Andrea received a message from an unknown number. "I'm coming back. Prepare the statement." It was from Ken. 2 days later, the world watched as he arrived back in Milan. Quiet, bearded, eyes heavy but calm. Paparazzi surrounded him. "Ken, will you talk to us?" He didn't answer. He just said, "Tomorrow." That single word set the stage for the biggest moment of his career and his life. Because the next day, on live television, he would break his silence. And the world would finally hear his side of the story, not the media's, not the fans, not the gossips. His truth. The question was, would Sara still be there to listen? The next evening, millions of people tuned in to watch the most anticipated live interview of the year. The studio was packed, lights dimmed, cameras ready, every reporter holding their breath. Even before the show began, the energy in the room was electric. Everyone knew that tonight, Yaman would finally break his silence. He walked in quietly, dressed in black, his expression calm but unreadable. The applause was long, but he didn't smile. He just sat down, placed his hands together, and waited for the questions. The host began gently, but the audience could feel the tension beneath every word. "Ken," she said, "you've been silent for days. The world has been talking about your visit to Demet's family, about Sara's ultimatum, and about your disappearance. Tonight, can you tell us the truth?" He looked down for a moment, took a deep breath, and when he lifted his eyes, they weren't the eyes of a celebrity. They were the eyes of a man who had finally decided to stop running. "Everyone keeps talking about love," he said slowly, as if it's a simple thing. "But it's not. It's messy. It's confusing. And sometimes, it hurts the people we never meant to hurt." The studio went silent. "Yes," he continued, "I went to see Demet's family. Not to start something new, but to finish something old. I needed peace. For years, I carried guilt for the way things ended. I thought distance would heal everything, but it didn't. It only built walls inside me. And I couldn't give my heart fully to anyone, not even to Sara, until I tore those walls down." You could almost hear the audience breathing. Sara deserves someone honest. And the truth is, I wasn't whole when she met me. She saw the good in me when I didn't. She gave me patience, warmth, and peace when all I knew was chaos. And I broke her trust. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I didn't know how to love myself the right way yet." A murmur swept across the studio. The host leaned forward, whispering, "So what now, Ken? Are you saying it's over?" He shook his head slowly. "I'm saying it's real. And real love doesn't end with noise. It ends, or begins, with truth." The audience burst into applause, but it wasn't excitement, it was emotion. Some people wiped their eyes. Even the host looked shaken. At that exact moment, behind the cameras, Sara was there. No one knew she'd come. Her eyes filled with tears as she watched him finally say what she'd been waiting to hear, not excuses, but truth. Ken looked toward the shadows of the studio, almost as if he felt her presence. "If she's watching," he said softly, "I just want her to know this, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for one more chance to love her without fear." The audience fell silent again. It was the kind of silence that carried more emotion than applause ever could. The next morning, his words were everywhere, one more chance to love her without fear. That single line became the most quoted phrase on social media. Fans called it the most honest confession of his career. Sara didn't speak publicly that day, but her Instagram story said enough, a simple image of the same lake where they had first met, captioned, "Sometimes love needs to break before it becomes real." Hours later, paparazzi captured her stepping out of her apartment, smiling faintly for the first time in days. Ken wasn't with her. Not yet. But everyone knew he would be soon. Days turned into weeks, and though they never announced anything officially, they were seen together again, quietly, walking through a narrow street in Rome, holding hands. No cameras, no spectacle, just peace. And as for Demet, she never said another word. But months later, when asked about that period, she simply said, "Sometimes, people come back not for us, but to finally forgive themselves." It was closure. For all of them. And for Yaman, it was the first time in years he looked truly free. Because love didn't destroy him. It saved him.